Hello everyone, welcome to the Bodhi Academy. In today's video, we'll continue the class 11, chapter 3, that is plant kingdom. Okay, so in the last class we were learning about how plants are classified, and we had started with the algae. So in algae we learned how they are chlorophyll bearing simple thalloid organisms which are able to synthesize their own food. Okay, their mode of nutrition is autotrophic. Then we also saw all these different examples of algae, and then the groups, okay, in which the algae are divided, that is chlorophyceae, which is the green algae, then phaeophyceae, the brown algae, and rhodophyceae, okay, which are the red algae. In today's class we will start with the bryophytes. So bryophytes are non-vascular mosses and liverworts that grow in moist shady region, and they are called amphibians of the plant kingdom because these plants live on soil but they are dependent on water for their sexual reproduction. Okay, so from this we know that these bryophytes which are there, these are non-vascular. Okay, so non-vascular means there is absence of xylem and phloem, which are the vascular tissue in plants. Then these are mosses and liverworts. Okay, so these are the two groups or two types of bryophytes which are found. Then they grow in moist and shady regions. Okay, so these are the favorable conditions in which they grow. Now these are called amphibians of the plant kingdom. Why? Because these plants they live in soil, okay, but they depend on water for their sexual reproduction. Without water they cannot reproduce sexually. So water is essential for them, that is why they are called amphibians of plant kingdom. Then let us see the characteristic features of these bryophytes. They live in damp and shady habitats. This we have already seen. Then they are found growing during the rainy season on damp soil, rocks, walls, etc. Okay, so we see these mosses and all growing during the rainy season, right? So they will grow on any damp surface. Then in these plants there are two phases. Okay, one is the gametophyte and the other is sporophyte. So the dominant phase in these organisms is the gametophyte. Then the roots are absent, but these plants contain rhizoids. Okay, so what are rhizoids? Now we'll see here in this picture. So these are examples of bryophytes, and we can see over here there are small thread like structures which are there. So these are not actually developed as roots, but they are called rhizoids. Okay, they do the same functions. Okay, they will absorb the water and try to anchor the plant. Then the vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation, tubers, gamete, buds, etc. Okay, so these are the type of vegetative reproduction that they follow. Then sex organs are multicellular and jacketed. Okay, so this is a unique feature in these organisms. The sex organs which are there are jacketed or covered by a thin layer of cells so that they are protected. Then the male sex organ is called the antheridium, and they produce biflagellate anthrozoids, and the female sex organ is called as archegonium, which is a flask shaped and it produces a single egg. Now as we have discussed, there are two phases in these organisms. So the sporophyte is dependent on the gametophyte for nourishment. Okay, so here in this, the leafy structure which you see is the gametophyte, and then this stalk like a thing which is there, it is the sporophyte. Okay, now this one is an example of a liverwort, that is mercantia. Okay, so this is the female mercantia thallus and this is the male mercantia. Then let us learn the first type of bryophytes, that is liverworts. Okay, so these liverworts are also known as Hepaticopsida. Okay, this is their class, that is Hepaticopsida. Then in this, the plant body of liverwort is thalloid. Okay, so example Mertensia, as we have seen here, the plant body is thalloid, meaning it is not well differentiated into root, stem and leaves. So we call this structure as thallus. Then the thallus is dorsiventral and closely appressed to the substrate. So it is closely appressed to the substrate. Okay, so these rhizoids will attach to the substrate. Then asexual reproduction in liverworts takes place by fragmentation or by formation of specialized structures called the gamete. Okay, so it is by fragmentation, by breaking into tube, or by formation of gamete. So these are the gamete cups which also help in the asexual reproduction. So the gamete are green multicellular asexual buds which develop in small receptacles called the gamete cups. Okay, so the gamete will develop in these small gamete cups, gamma cups. Then the gamete becomes detached from the plant body and germinate to form a new individual. So these cups or the gamete which are formed in them, they will detach from the main plant body and then germinate to form new individual. Now during sexual reproduction, the male and female sex organs are produced either on the same plant or on a different thalli. Okay, so here we have a female and a male thallus. Okay, now this could both the gametes could also be developed on a single thallus. Then the sporophyte is differentiated into food, seta and capsule, and the spores produced within the capsule germinate to form free living gametophytes. Okay, so here we have the sporophyte. Now this sporophyte is divided into food, seta and capsule. So this is the food region, then this is the seta, and here we have the capsule. Okay, now the spores will be formed here in this capsule, and then these spores will germinate to form individual free living gametophytes. So this is all about the class, that is liverworts. Then the another type of bryophytes that we have are the mosses. So in mosses we can see the diagram here. So these are two examples of mosses. The first one is Funaria. Okay, this part is the gametophyte, and this extension is the sporophyte part of the plant. Then another example that we have here is sphagnum moss. Okay, now this is a diagram of gametophyte of this sphagnum. So let us see. The gametophyte of mosses consists of two stages. The first stage is protonema stage, which develops directly from the spores, and it is a creeping green and filamentous thalli, okay, or protonema. So the gametophyte, it has two stages. Okay, so in mosses, the gametophyte itself will have two stages. The first is protonema, and the second one is the leafy stage. Now this protonema which is there, it is creeping. Okay, it is creeping and green and filamentous. Then now this protonema will then develop into the leafy stage, which develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud having upright slender axis bearing the spirally arranged leaves. Okay, so then the protonema will then convert into this gametophyte, which is spirally arranged leafy stage. Okay, see here we can see the leaves are spirally arranged in this. Okay, so this is the leafy stage in which it has an axis which were spirally arranged leaves. Okay, so this is about the gametophyte of the mosses. Then the vegetative reproduction again is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema, that is the leafy stage. Then the sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, the sex organs antheridia and archegonia are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. Okay, so here we can see in the example of Funaria, the sex organs or the sporophyte in which the sex organs, the antheridia and archegonia, are produced at the top of the or axis of the leafy shoots. Okay, so this is the leafy shoot, and at the top the sex organs, the antheridia or the archegonia, are produced. Then the sporophyte in mosses are more developed than bryophytes, and it consists of foot, seta and capsule. So same thing, even this sporophyte will have, this is the foot region, then the seta and the capsule. In this also we have the presence of rhizoids and then the main axis on which the leaves are spirally arranged. So spirally arranged leaves. So the common examples are Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. Two examples we have already seen here. Then the next part is pteridophytes. Okay. So after bryophytes, the next thing that we see are the pteridophytes. Okay, the next division. So these are the first terrestrial plants. Now the algae were mostly aquatic. Then the next stage, after some evolution, we have reached to the bryophytes. Okay, which were living at the terrestrial areas, but they were still dependent on water. Now these pteridophytes were the first terrestrial plants. Okay, they could survive on the soil. Then they preferred cool, damp and shady places to grow, and they are mostly used as ornaments. Okay, they are mostly used as ornamental plants for beauty in the gardens and all. Now the main plant body is sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. Now here we have seen in both algae and bryophytes that the body was not well differentiated. Okay, it was basically a thallus. But here in these pteridophytes which are there, the body is differentiated into true roots, stem and leaves. Okay, so they are well differentiated. The leaves may be small, that is microsporophylls, or they could be large, called as macrosporophylls. Okay, now microsporophylls we can see in the example, that is Selaginella, and macrosporophylls are present in the ferns. So let us see the diagrams. Now this is an example, this is a Selaginella and this is Equisetum. Now here we have the fern and Salvinia. So here we see that the leaves are very small. Okay, so they are microsporophylous, and whereas in this here in ferns the leaves are larger, so they are called macrophylls. Okay, macrophylls. Then the sporangia having the spores are subtended by leaf-like appendages called the sporophylls and are arranged to form the strobili or cones. So the sporangia, okay, the organ which forms the or produces the spores, are subtended on these leaves. Okay, at the back of these leaves, as we have seen. Now here this is the back of a leaf. The sporangia are subtended in this region. Okay, so the sporangia will be present here, which will produce the spores. Then the spores germinate to form, okay, the sporangia. In sporangia, the spore mother cell will give rise to spores after meiosis. Okay, then the spores germinate to form haploid gametophytic structure called the prothallus, which is free living, small, unicellular and photosynthetic. Okay, now after these spores are dispersed, they will germinate to form the haploid gametophyte or the prothallus, which is free living, small, unicellular and photosynthetic. Then the prothallus, which is germinated from the spores, it bears antheridia and archegonia. Okay, so now this will have, the prothallus will have antheridia and archegonia, which bears the antherozoid and the egg cell. So these antheridia and archegonia are the male and female sex organ, which will then produce the antherozoids and the egg cell, which on fertilization will form the zygote. So both these on fertilization will form a zygote. Now the zygote which is produced is multicellular and well differentiated sporophyte. Now the pteridophytes are differentiated into 4 classes. That is, first one is Psilopsida. We have an example, Xylotom. Then Xylotom. Then we have Lycopsida. An example is Selaginella. Then we have Spinopsida. An example we have seen Equisetum. Then we have Pteropsida. Example is Pteris. Okay, so this is the example of Pteris, which is a fern. Then heterospore. Okay, in these 2 kinds of spores are produced. That is large macrospore or a smaller microspore. Then these spores are produced in example Selaginella and Salvinia. So these same example. This is the Selaginella and Salvinia. The seed habit, the development of zygote into young embryos takes place within the female gametophyte, which is retained on the parent sporophyte. Okay, so the development of the zygote into young embryo will take place within the female gametophyte only. Okay, and which is retained on the parent sporophyte. So this is about the life cycle of pteridophytes. So in today's video we have learnt about the bryophytes, the 2 classes, that is the liverworts and the mosses, and then we have learnt about the pteridophytes and their life cycle. So this is all in today's video. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share and subscribe to the Bodhi Academy.